but just in a bit more depth. Try and keep it light-hearted. Try, the initial steps to buying a house, what to look for, that sort of thing. So, investment tips. Right, so the first sort of thing that I wanted to talk about was what do you look for when you buy? So one of the first things that spring to mind when buying is whether you look for a new home or an old home. So, and one big thing that come out of tonight is that everyone will be different. Everyone likes different things. Everyone searching for something different. So I know for myself, I've bought an old home. Everyone told me that I should build, but I just like old carpet and old ceilings, and that's what I like. So that's, everyone's different. So a couple of things to look at and keep in mind, old versus new. The biggest one and the silent one in terms of investing will be maintenance. So obviously your older property, things like your painting, your roof, your walls, even your yard size, your plumbing issues, all these sort of things can, when the excitement's there and you're buying, you think, oh great, that's the house, it's all been renovated. But as time goes on, these things do happen. So that's just something to keep in mind there. With new, silent things like body corporate may catch you out, parking issues, that sort of thing. So obviously, as Nat said as well, this goes for building as well. So big advantages there, stamp duty and first home buyers, that sort of thing. So they both have positives, they both have negatives, but it totally depends on what you're after. Next. So location, had to throw this one in, as real estate agents do. But the general rule is that is right, but there's always going to be exceptions. I know that Maddie said earlier that if you do research on the market, you'll know when there's a bargain, and why not? If there's a bargain somewhere and everything says yes, we'll just do it. So what I've done, what I'm going to delve into a little bit, is just the Warrnambool market here. So we've cut it into suburbs. And this is just what we use at work, and this is how we sort of try and help people out. Now, I'll try not be too biased or anything like that. So what I was going to do was just run through each suburb, take a little cut. So what I've got written here is just a general, what an average house is worth. Now, of course, there'll be different ranges in each suburb, but what the average house is worth and what we're seeing each sort of, that for the house, what it's worth and what it will return in rent per week. And they'll just explain different suburbs versus each other. So, first one we've got, and I bought this little one for everyone. It's got a little laser on it as well. So we've got Dennington. So what we're finding in Dennington at the moment is a lot of new houses selling. We've got an average of around that high 300s, but they're returning $400 a week. So your initial outlay, so something that I should say first, so a basic gross yield that we try and work towards is 6%. So that's your house price, so your $375,000 divided by your annual rent. So that gives you your gross yield, and then obviously you've got all your costs to take out of that. So if we can aim it around 6%, that's probably what you're going to. It'll get you by. So just going back to Dennington, you've got your average at 375 for 400 a week. What we find in the west area, so probably more so the inner west in through here, your average price around that 270,000. Sort of get you a 30, 40-year-old brick, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 270, and they rent pretty well. So you're getting around that $320 a week. So just purely as if you're going to borrow the whole lot, it's pretty much going to pay itself off, and plus a little bit, plus your maintenance. So, and I'll come back to West Warrnambool there in a minute. West Warrnambool is pretty similar to Maribel, similar age houses, a few older houses in Maribel. So Maribel, yeah, we've got $280,000 average and probably around that $280 a week return. In terms of North Warrnambool, we've got a big difference between your sort of inner north and your newer estate out further north. So the inner north, what we find, they're probably a bit newer than the west. So we're getting around that $320,000 average, 320 to 350, and they sort of return around that 350 a week as well. So yeah. Out towards your north, obviously it's a bit similar to your Deddington. We're probably returning higher prices for sale, but getting a similar rent. So, and obviously, as the guys know, developed around a similar time. But yeah, and that sort of hit that on the head in terms of what you're going to make if you build out there. So your big range, East Warrnambool, it's a bit of a growth area down. You've got the Granny's Grave area here. So what I'll say here is, and going back and talking about each person's individual requirements, you'll have investors that want to make a good return short term versus long term. So over in West Warrnambool, as I explained, you're going to make a little bit of money, but you're probably going to struggle historically with capital growth. So we haven't seen that sale price grow much over the last sort of 7, 10, 15 years. Whereas over in your Granny's Grave and your central areas, your average price to buy at the moment may be centrally $550, and your Granny's Grave may be around $400,000 to buy. But your rental return around here may only be $320, $350. So it really flips West Warrnambool on its head to east there. But going back to short versus long term, your capital growth over the long term will be greater in this area historically from what we've seen. So you're going to make the money long term rather than just getting it quickly there. So Central Warrnambool's another one that's always hot. It's, you know, we can't get enough central properties, and Matterby the same, and they sell really quickly. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of Warrnambool, but there's probably not much else to say about it. I'll just carry on. So once again, what to look for when buying. So another big one, so initial price. So obviously if you go in and you pay too much for a property, it doesn't matter how much rent you get, you're behind the 8 ball to start with. So obviously this is buying an established house, that's what we tend to work in. So first one, as a discerned buyer, find out the motivation of the seller. So for instance, if you know that it's a deceased estate or a trustee, your chances of picking it up at a lower price are going to be greater, obviously, versus somebody that is selling the house and their motivation is not very high. They're just putting the toe in the water and they're searching for the heart buyer. So someone that loves the property, that needs the property, they're probably going to try and get the top dollar. So that can be a range of 10, 15, 20% on the total price. So that'd be a big one to try and find out. Your method of sale. So around Warrnambool, we tend to see auctions versus expressions of interest, or contact agent versus just a straight out price. So the one thing, I'll just run through all three of those. So with method of sale, with an auction, you're not really buying it for price. You're buying it against an opponent, I guess. So coming back to initial price, if you know and you've done your research and there's only one or maybe two people that are going to try and buy that property, you're every chance to buy it cheaper. You set your own reserve, you go for it. Expressions of interest is a bit the same. We don't tend to do too many of them, but what we say to people is, you go through the house, you set your budget to the house. If it doesn't buy it, it doesn't buy it. But our preferred method of sale would be just a price. People know where they stand, they do their research, and that's probably been the big thing that we've seen in the last few years is people doing their research. Which puts me to the next point actually. Be comfortable with the market. So, as a few people have been saying, there's so much out there that you can go and research, but that's probably one point that I had tonight, was just be careful, because I know myself buying in the past, you go onto some websites and it gives you an estimate of price, and it can be 50, 100,000 out both ways. So just be careful, which probably leads me into my next point. Find an agent of choice. So have someone that you can talk to, bounce ideas off. I know I've got buyers that buy off other people. I go to inspections with them, with other agents, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy. And talking to Maddie the other day as well, there's nothing wrong with all working together. It's about getting the right house for the right person. So there's definitely no angst with agent versus agent. So it's just about getting the right property for the right person. So that Koroit example there, we had a lady, and it just shows you sort of what can happen. Had a lady that missed out on a property in Koroit, heartbroken. The husband didn't want to pay the amount, they missed out. Anyway, we just went away with her and got an idea of exactly what she wanted, and went through Koroit, letter dropped, and did all the hard work, and ended up finding one property that they didn't really want to sell, but that was the property that she wanted to buy. Conversely, those people weren't going to leave unless they found something in Warrnambool. So it was a bit of a string along. So I had to find those people something in Warrnambool to make the whole lot happen. But Maddie might tell you the same. I think if you can find an agent that will work with maybe 20 or 30 people instead of talk briefly to 1,000 people, that's gold. You sort of dog and a bone sort of thing. You concentrate on less people, get the job done, look after them. That's probably what you're after. Yeah, beautiful. Head versus heart. So this is probably a big one that hasn't really been touched on tonight, but it's a massive one. Remove your personal requirements. So when initially buying, like as we said, or as I said just before, I love those old things about a house, but I was going to live in that house and I was going to live there for 10 years. So that's fine. But if you're investing, just be careful, because those things corner the market in terms of property management. They make it harder to rent out. So things like when you're going to buy a property, if it's got a big garden, you love roses, and you know it might suit you, but it's not going to suit a tenant. It's just going to be a nightmare. So big gardens, internal colours. So you might have a beautiful purple splashback. I walk into some houses and think, you know, you're really cornering the market by doing that. Or expensive carpet. So all those sort of things, just keep in mind. Just don't worry about them. The best investments are usually just straightforward, beige, you know, carpet that's indestructible, and away you go. Don't invest into your investment. So it might sound strange, but it's more so about just keeping it at arm's length. So don't baby your investment. I know my parents have got one, and after 10 years now, they've finally stood up and gone, well, yeah, I wish you had told us that then, but I was still in school, so. So basically what they've done, bought the house, tried to keep it as their own, but have it as investment, and they've done retaining walls, they've done the garden, they're there twice a week, they're doing the lawns, and it takes so much of your own power to do that sort of thing, and it's just not worth it. You may as well live your own life, and as we said earlier, just employ someone that knows the ins and outs, because I'll walk into the property management team at Homeseeker every day and just run out. There's that many different things going through court, REIV, the whole lot, it's a nightmare. So I couldn't imagine doing it yourself. So I definitely advise to use a professional. As I was just saying before, cater to the widest audience to be successful. So that comes down to not only investing, but just keeping it in mind with resale. So those two bottom ones go together. And one thing that I think's probably massive absolutely massive is resaling in property. So it doesn't matter if you walk into a house as an investment or as your first home and you think, right, I'm going to be here for 20 years, it's what I'm going to do. Probably won't happen. We see it every time. Whether it's, there's a breakup, there's kids, there's a job move. Don't go in thinking that it's going to be my forever home or my forever investment. So just every time you go in, think about the big things, maintenance, location, what it's going to rent out at. So, and just use your agent. So we know all about resale. So I think that's probably enough. I'm not allowed to talk about questions. No. You take that out.
No questions are off.
Thanks everyone.
All right, thanks.